Hello everyone, and on this video we're going to look through all of the viewport settings, and this will generally help us to feel ourselves more comfortable and more confident while we are working. And I will create a plane just so we have kind of a basement, and I will also create some polygonal object. It can be a cube or any other object you like, just so we have our NURBS objects and one classical primitive. And what we're going to go through, we are going to look at our menus and at our icons. First, we will start with the menus. And here we are already familiar with some of the functions. At the top we have some of the camera functions. We haven't worked with the cameras yet, so we will not go through them. Undo view change and redo view change, we already know what is that. View along axis, it's basically our orthogonal views, so we are already familiar with this function. And here is the interesting function. Look at selection. If we have something selected, it just will center it for us in our view. Frame all and frame selection we already know. Align camera to polygon, that's something new for us. And if we will work with the polygons, we will be able to align our camera parallel to the polygon, and sometimes it can be super helpful. So we also have predefined bookmarks, and that's basically again our orthogonal view. But what's important, that we can create our own bookmarks. For example, I want to remember this camera position. I go to bookmarks and I can create a new bookmark. I can set the name and click apply and close. And right now I can move my camera and I will be always able to return to my bookmark camera position. So that's kind of cool, especially when you are trying to render out something. And you work with one camera, for example, you don't want to create several cameras. This will always allow you to get back to your desired camera position. Okay, so the next are camera settings and camera tools and image planes. Some of them are not important for us, some of them we will look further at the course. Let's go to the shading menu, and here we always worked at the smooth shade all menu. And if we will check wireframe option, now we can see the structure of the all objects, and we are able to look through all of our objects. And we actually have a shortcuts for these views. It's 4 for wireframe and 5 for shaded. So we also have a flat shading. It's when we see everything with standard material, but right now we will be able to see polygons. It named a flat shading because right now if we enable this, one polygon will have only one direction where he reflects the light. Smooth selected items, you just solve it. You will have only selected item smooth, and that's how boundary box options looks. That's generally, I even don't know how to explain it. That's not the volume, but actually the boundaries of the objects, and that's wireframe on shaded. When we can look our wireframe on shaded objects, and that's X-ray. Then we can look through the objects. And we also have a backface culling option. We will see it a bit later. So here you generally can just click and see how it works. Not hard to do. And I think we just went through all of the important ones. And let's go to the lightning. And right now we are using default lightning, and we already know two-sided lightning option. And right now you can see, because I enabled backface culling, Maya is just ignoring the back faces. So if we have a thin object, one-sided object, Maya will just ignore this surface from the back. And if we disable this option, everything is how we used to see everything. So let's go to lightning, and to see something we of course will need a light itself. So let's go to lights, and I will create a directional light. I will scale the icon, and let's rotate this object a little bit. So right now we can use all lights, and our objects are starting to be lighted. Or we can use a flat lightning. It's when only diffuse color is taken into account, or we can use no lightning or only selected objects. We also can enable shadows actually in the viewport. They are not going to be realistic, but anyway, here in the show menu we can see all the types of the objects, and you can disable and enable them in the viewport. So for example, you created a lot of lights, you render something and you already adjusted the light, and you don't want to see them in the viewport. Here you can disable the lights, and as you can see, they are not seen anymore. And here is our renderer tab. We are always working in the viewport 2.0, but we have also an Arnold option. We are not going to look through it. It is a ray traced engine, and you can use it and try it, but you will need to create at least one light Arnold can work with. It is going to be area light or spotlight or point light. And here in the panels menu we are able to go to the orthogonals view again, or this is a good option. We can look through selected objects. For example, we want to point light somewhere, and we can look through it and we can move it like this. It is not the best example right now I'm showing, but nevertheless you can do it, and sometimes it is really powerful. So here we can just turn our viewport to any other panel, like a hyper shade, for example, to work with material. You probably are not familiar with this panel yet, but anyway, just to know, and if I will go to panels perspective persp, I will go back, I will turn back to my perspective. And now we generally already went through all of the important menus, and let's check the icons. You already know the grid settings, and to the right of this option we have different film gates and resolution gates, and they exist to help you to render something. Again, they are kind of creating the safe boundaries for your render. For example, the resolution gate is showing you exactly how picture would look on the render. For example, because the resolution on the render and in viewport can vary and can be different, and you can use resolution gate for it. And here we have some kind of a safe title and safe actions. This is just like for the safety reasons. If you're afraid that you will not catch something on the screen. And here we have a use default material button. Since we already have everything in default material, it will look the same. Wireframe unshaded option, duplicating from the menu, and the texture icon. We don't have anything textured, so we will not see the difference. Use all lights button, same as in the menu. Shadows button, we can enable shadows. They looks kind of harsh, but still we can. Screen space ambient occlusion will kind of add realistic effect, realistic ambient shadows to your objects. Contact shadows, basically it will take a point in the world and it will calculate the distance, for example 2 meters around it, and if it will intersect with some other surface, it will create a shadow. So the next option is motion blur, and doesn't make sense to explain it for now because it is connected with animation. And anti-aliasing is quite important. You can see now we have kind of a pixelation at the edges, but if we will turn anti-aliasing on, we will not have it. So that's kind of an improvement in the viewport, but of course it costs some performance. And here we have isolate selection button, and I use it a lot when I model. As it says, it's help us to isolate selected objects from the others. Really helps you to focus on one object at a time. And the X-ray, I use it a lot also. I think it is a lot better than a standard wireframe option. And here we have some X-ray joints and X-ray polygons, but we are not working with the joints or polygons yet, so it is not useful for us for now. And I think that's all for now. See you on the next lesson.